had a question for you.
Yeah.
That it said that, and for an artist, their work is never complete. So the best way to end it is to abandon it. You never complete art. You abandon it. You just have to decide when. Okay, I'm going to abandon it. So at what point do you abandon the NOUS project to say, okay, it's ready for an album?
When it's ready, like when the editing, mixing, when it's complete as a production, you mean?
Right. At what point do you say, okay, this is ready?
In the studio, this is a studio process. And that's very much a phenomena that I've evolved with over the years and being very conscious of. What I find is that, first off, I know in most cases it's going to require a lot of time over a period of time. You know, in some cases it's 3 years on some of my projects, like studio work on it. And in the NOUS case, it was 2 months probably or something of editing, mixing. I first off just, again, approach it like it's a day job. Like I have an allocation of time every day. I show up and I do the work, and as long as it takes, as much nourishment or attention or mindfulness as it requires until I intuit that it's complete. I keep on giving it to it. And that's also something that's evolved with trust over the years, because I used to really slave over that in the 20s. And actually, I went through 5 years of total writer block where I wrote hundreds of songs that I never finished recording. It was like a 4 or 5 year period of total self-doubt and confusion, but I grew so much in that period because I had to go through all this writing and doubt about being able to complete anything, to get to the point where I understood that what you had to do is like trust the process and trust yourself, but trust. And I learned that mainly by realizing that when I had an idea of a sketch, I would if I'd record the idea, or if I was in the studio working on a song, the importance of taking a break and getting away for it for a period of time and then revisiting it. Because what happens with my case at that time, less so now because it's become so part of a process, but I found that whenever I'd be in the process, there was this voice in my mind that was always like, this is terrible, this sucks. You know what I mean? This really negative kind of critic. But then if I like put it away and sometimes discover these, I used to record everything on my little demo thing on a little tape recorder, and I really actually miss that, the cassette tape. And I'd listen back to it like 6 months or a year later and be amazed at some of the stuff, totally not even remembering doing it, but like amazed that I did that, but I knew that at the time there was like this critic, in the mind. And I still have that sometimes now, but less so because I trust the process more. But also the critic, the critic of my mind is also my friend, because it pushes me through perseverance to get to the point where I feel that I can make an agreement with it and say, yeah, okay, that's good enough. We can come to an appeasement at this point. But in the meantime, he's just bitching and moaning, in my brain, like, you suck, this sucks. And even this project, I had a lot of, I always have that. That's what makes me keep sculpting it, until it gets to the point where it doesn't suck that bad. And
take out the extra suckiness.
No, but it's true. Like, I mean, it's sculpting. I know, like right now I'm writing like that's how I work. I work much slower. I mean, I do improvisational projects, but mainly what I do are these more long form compositions. And it is that sculpting until it becomes an enjoyable thing for me to listen to. That's the moment when I know it's close to completion. Like when I, and that's why the break is important, because when I come back to listen to it and I'm able to listen to it with enjoyment or appreciation, I know that it's become something, that it's ready, it's close to ready.
That's your refinement.
Some more than others, of course.
Yes, your refinement process.
And then it's a little bit slow. Like, I mean, Gabarine, I'm finishing the Cecilia album that I really, like I was telling you last night, I really love it. It's quite special, very, very beautiful. And That's taken a very long time to get to the end point. Even if it's been completed for a really long time, there was a lot of like listening, like really subtle cultivation towards the end, but with a lot of space. Like I would take a break and work on something else for a while, come back to it. And I find that no matter whether that's over a 6-month period, a 1-year period, or a 1-month period, 2 months, that giving it breaks, especially towards the end, gives me that capacity to start to settle into like, and then there's just a letting go, saying that I can't devote any more of my life to this. I've given it enough time.
And that's something you're telling to creative young artists.
I was also thinking that's something you think about your children in a way too.
Right.
Like but anyways.
Yeah. To know when it's enough.
Yeah.
And not.
But then also I would say then there's a point that's very important at the end where I share it with friends. And that's also another transition into and trusted friends, like the people that I know that are musicians, engineers, to get their opinions, and oftentimes technical things, like do you hear anything, what'd you think about it? That helps me also because I don't share it with anyone really until the very end, when I feel that it's ready to first show to people that I know really close, and maybe a little bit more and more and more, until then you give it out to the world. So it's a very slow process for me.
It's a very conscientious process.
Yeah, but the
way you operate is with a great deal of
and I feel
thought.
good about it at the end.
Yeah.
And that's how I come to feel good about
Yeah.
it. Some people probably might feel good about it, and perhaps Laraaji feels good as soon as he's done. He just feels great about it. That's never really been the case for me. But that's what, like you said, defines my process.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and it's like you and Gareth, the minimalist, the maximalist.
Yeah.
You're owning your process at whatever stage you are, owning your process, really owning it, and then falling in love with it.
Yeah.
And not beating yourself up because your process is different than someone else's. And also recognizing creative energy, like any energy, thrives and grows if you nurture it. So to experience yourself in creativity with everything, creatively put toothpaste on your toothbrush in the morning.
Yeah.
Feel how, that looks really nice today.
Yeah.
And everything you do, when you're making your breakfast, do it in a creative way. Take time to appreciate what you're doing is creative. It does not have to be a Beethoven symphony to have it.
That's a wonderful way of talking about mindfulness. That's a way that I also have thought about mindfulness, very similar, where I was doing a long period of like metta loving kindness meditation, and I realized I was thinking about Thai's teachings about, or more his presence of intense mindfulness, this extraordinary awareness of everything, but that there's a way in which you can pick up a cup, being like loving to the cup, like especially again seeing like the God in the Pepsi bottle, that everything is essentially this, field of shunyata unity, that like loving kindness towards the cup is a way of like radiating into, this external internal space.
That's
but
taking
also,
care of your bliss.
And also it's pure mindfulness. Well, mindfulness is loving kindness.
Okay.
Yes, and
right?
creativity.
And creativity is also loving kindness.
It is.
It can be, I guess.
It can be very much.
Yeah.
And the more you practice creativity as loving kindness in the little things, that's what I'm saying, not to sound funny, but really seriously, toothpaste and making a meal. And if you have the privilege of having a yard that needs tending, to creatively weed your garden and enjoy it mindfully. Be mindful of your surroundings in a creative way. So what you're doing is you're nurturing and building creativity muscles in things that you don't think of as creative.
Yeah. That's actually a big realization I had about, I don't know, 5 to 10 years ago. I used to get really anxious all the time because I was so diligent and organized and perseverant in my work, and I'm so focused on getting, you know, this project done. I have to put in 10 hours a day. I have to do it, you know. And I would get annoyed if I wasn't doing in the studio, you know. There was a very dual way of looking at reality. I needed to be working on my music. If I had to shower or talk or eat or make food, that was all distraction, you know. Someone came over, it's a distraction. But then I started to realize that making your food and taking your shower and of course doing meditation, sleeping is making the music. Like it is an ingredient, especially obviously food, but you really, everything is. Taking a breath of air is an ingredient that is in the music. And it's like you said, creativity is a release of energy, but in order to release energy you have to aggregate energy, right? Yes. For it to be there. So like which is exactly what you're saying, that if you go through life realizing that drinking my water is composing my next piece, taking care of your son can be composing your next piece, you know. It's a really fascinating kind of switch of all of a sudden kind of realizing the importance of the whole picture, not just your one obsessive.
Yeah, therefore, if you're mindful while drinking your water and you hold it when you pick up the book, then that's when you're on stage or in the studio, it's just a continuation of that energy.
Exactly.
Yeah, my new thinking
and it's a strengthening of muscle.
Yes, strengthening your creativity.
Two muscles.
Muscles. Yeah. But it's also thinking like fungi. My newest fascination
is all our newest.
Did you say fungi?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, all of what we are observing and learning and relearning, reacquainting ourselves with the wonder and awe of the mycelium kingdom.
Yeah.
And I guess for our era, much of it came into light through the popular media when Avatar was released.
Oh,
and in that
I hadn't
film,
thought about that.
Think of how
it was really
that all that interconnected root system and the fungi that were feeding it, and now this is like the buzzworld.
Yeah.
It's everywhere that we're reading books and hearing. So think like a fungi.
Yeah. And did you speak to John about this last night?
No.
Oh, yeah. He's doing a whole thing now about mycelium. He's defined
I didn't know
a new.
That.
He's going out. He said into the hundreds of what are they called? Of the Fibonacci series of the harmonic steps, but it begins with a P, what the word is, but essentially each of the harmonic series, like if you have an octave and you have the second octave and the fifth, and then the next octave and then the third, the harmonic series. He's going in the Pythagorean out to like into the hundreds in order to develop a sound thing that he wants to grow mushrooms under. So he plays that sound because it's the Fibonacci series, and the mushrooms grow within the Fibonacci.
That field.
They grow in that field and that pattern of the Fibonacci series. So he wants to play, because he's growing mushrooms now, he wants to play that frequency up into the well beyond the capacity for human hearing, like multiples.
No way.
And then he would be playing that frequency to help, like a grow light for the mushroom.
I didn't hear that.
Very interesting.
I wish I had, and that's I guess my final tip in creativity. Think like a mushroom.
Yeah.
Be a fungi. Tap into your inner mycelium network.
You should make a bunch of T-shirts for this.
Maybe so, and a big little.
Yeah, when you said, I'm
hat.
wondering if we still want to use the word thinking in reference to
not
fungi,
really.
because there's such a
beingness.
such a nonverbal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Presence yourselfhood within the mycelium network.
And
what a wonderful. Wow, John, go John.
So guys,
you do have
you.
to be mindful of your time.
Yeah.
What can we do?
So wonderful to have this opportunity to talk with you and ask you these questions. I had so many more. I wanted to talk about Sangha. That was the final thing, but that's okay. We had Sangha.
That's right. We were living Sangha.
Yeah, and Sangha, the circle celebration. concept and the NOUS concept, the most probably all the time that you guys are performing, but and of course in our tradition with Thai and how he talks about the future Buddha will be the Sangha, not an individual. That we're in a time now where Sangha is more important probably than ever, because the earth needs to become a Sangha, but we need more Sanghas in general. We need more people collaborating artistically in an open field with each other. We need more gatherings around fire pits.
Yes.
You know, singing and drumming and remembering like how our ancestors dealt with their energy systems. So I have actually been doing a lot of reflection in the last year about Sangha. And you know, in Buddhism there's the three jewels, very, very important concept. And I always, for years, I would read about the three jewels and I was like, yeah, the Buddha, it definitely, obviously he's amazing. You get everything he says is so, you know, most wise being I've ever found in all my search of philosophy. And then the Dharma, well, that's his teachings. He's just pointing out the universal law. Sangha, yeah, other people know I'm a hermit. I don't need them.
And realizing how that's as critical.
Yeah, because we need help. We're not alone. Right?
And that's humility.
And we got to help each other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not competitive. Thai does a whole host of teachings on the undermining aspect of a competitive spirit.
Yeah.
And how that's different than perseverance, and having a goal is very different than what we think of in the West as competitive being, you're great out there.
Yeah.
And having your ego boost. You fascinate me because you came from the competitive sports.
I know, well, yeah, I grew up with that mindset, yeah. And I took it into music. And I've had to slowly wet down that stone, you know, smooth it out. That
or
sharp
shift
edge.
Shift it, because it serves you.
Well, also, it was very clear to me because I struggled a lot with depression, and a lot of that had to do with that mindset.
Yeah.
Because if you're always like trying to just attain some great grandiose
you're never going to be good
accomplishment of
enough.
what is essentially ego,
right,
you'll never be happy.
No.
Like you'll never find happy. You'll find moments of like accomplishment and greatness and grandness of happiness, or a kind of bliss, but it'll only last for a little while until you need the next hit. You know what I mean? That's
seeing yourself as not good enough.
Yeah.
And that reminds me, and this requires a whole conversation, there is a Sangha community, not in Thai's tradition, called Good Enough Community, based originally out of Seattle, Washington. Remarkable community, over 50 years now in existence, and they annually do an event on this magnificent acreage in Tahoyah, Washington, on the Tahoyah River, and it's the second week of August. It's called Human Relations Laboratory.
Mm-hmm.
It's about allowing people to learn how to be held.
Yeah.
And I've been able to attend to, but it's something I need you to know about, the Good Enough community and their human relations.
No.